Yeah.
Hello, hello
Well,
everyone.
hello, everybody. Welcome to this stream. I'm Naomi. I'm part of the marketing team at SQD, and today we're just going live to explain a few things about what's coming with SQD portals and give you a chance to ask questions. And yeah, that's basically what we're here for. I think we'll give it maybe a minute, um, get people to see that the stream is live. Maybe log off from the DEF CON live stream for a minute and join this one instead. And yeah,
Log off from pump.fun.
well, have you been a lot on pump.fun recently, or why are you saying that?
I logged in multiple times, and yeah, I would say it's pretty a pretty addictive thing, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I wish I could buy Peanut a week ago.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But yeah, I hear that on Farcaster, they now have this thing where you can just put a cast and you tag this thing, and then it launches a meme on your behalf. And I
Okay.
think it even adds like zero point 0.1 ETH initial liquidity. Um, and as the creator, you get like 1% of the trading fees or something. So it's like fair launch because you have to buy too as the person launching it. But yeah, I think we'll see many, many memes. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'll
in the
just,
long run, any project is a meme token, right?
yes. Did you see Litecoin? They tweeted today. They are now identifying as a meme coin.
Litecoin.
Litecoin, yes.
Okay. Well, it's always been a meme coin, right?
Yes, but not officially. So now it's, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, okay. Maybe let's stop talking about the meme. I mean, maybe that's our destiny as well eventually. But for now, I think we're still trying to be a serious builder project. So maybe we can talk about that a
Yeah.
little. So yeah, I think the biggest thing that we have coming up, of course, it's the portals, and I think we covered a little bit of that last time already. We were going into how it works and when you can expect things to happen, but maybe we can recap a little, like what's a portal and why should people care?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, GM, I'm Dmitry, technical co-founder, chief philosopher at SQD. And yeah, today we're gonna get a little bit nerdy first, as usual, and then yeah, there will be like a bunch of questions from the community at different levels of degeneracy. So yeah, but first let's get to this serious stuff. Yeah, as Naomi already said that we covered SQD network last time, so I brought up a small refresher. Let me share this. Uh, does it work? Yeah, I guess. Can you see the screen, right? The SQD network will create later.
Yes,
Okay,
I
great.
think now it shows.
All right, yeah. So a quick refresher of what the SQD network is and how it works is that it's essentially a Web3 data lake. The long vision is that it will serve pretty much all the kinds of structured data, both on-chain and off-chain. And right now, the niche that we're focusing on is the on-chain data from all the major networks out there. Ethereum-based Solana, Fuel, all suffer from the growing state and growing amount of data, primarily historical data that everyone has to index in order to get any insights about the current state of the network, how much tokens you own, any kind of application interaction. So this data is super valuable. At the same time, the current RPC infrastructure is not really designed to handle this data. So that's why we are building a solution from scratch, which allows you to access this data at scale, make it in a sovereign way in decentralized fashion, so no vendor lock-ins, and at the same time maxing out the advancements in the way that the data, like big data, can be stored and queried. In a nutshell, SQD network is a huge database of clusters and each shard is a worker node, as we call it. So basically, it's a machine with 1 terabyte of storage and relatively modest hardware requirements. And each worker node in the network, constantly gets an assignment of which piece of data it has to store. So, like when you combine everything together, this covers all the information the SQD network is serving. So currently we have about 1,200 nodes in the network. That means 1.2 petabytes of capacity, and that more than enough to cover all the needs with a redundancy of like 2030, meaning that each piece of information is replicated across at least 30 nodes in the SQD network, this global database thing. And also, this can be achieved due to the very efficient way we store and compress this data, what is called Parquet files. So it's a specifically designed format that allows you to efficiently query and retrieve data from a flat file. So you don't really need any kind of a specific database, and that makes it very easy to operate. So each worker machine is basically like a file system and a small server to accept the queries. So this is in a nutshell how the network looks like, and the workers are rewarded for keeping the data and serving the queries against it. And you can check the dashboard. It's actually a little bit outdated right now. We have, I think, around 100 workers more. And then the question is like, how do we actually extract the data from the SQD network, right? So we have covered how the data gets in, how the workers store this data, but how do we actually, like as a user, can get this data from it? This is the idea of this portal, or like previously gateway. In a nutshell, this is something like a BitTorrent client, but specifically built for SQD network. It is something that you install on your laptop or in like any server, and it connects directly to all these worker nodes as peers. And whenever you ask your portal to extract some specific data, for example, like give me, I don't know, USDT transfers from Ethereum, the portal locates the right peers, the right worker nodes in the SQD network, and retrieves this data from there. This is in a nutshell how it works. And then the question is like why we are so excited about the portal itself, and how is it different from like what we already have in SQD network that's been live for like a few months already. Well, the question is like in the technical details. So right now what we have is a very simple implementation that I would call like a proxy. So whenever I want, for example, to extract all the transfers from and the transfers on, say, Ethereum, I would need to scan the whole entirety of the history and request the queries sequentially for each block range, right? So the way it does is that first I ask my gateway to find a worker for the range from 100K block to the 200K block. It finds the worker, asks the worker to retrieve this information from there, and I get this first kind of batch of data. Next, I ask it to find another worker which would cover the next range of the blocks, locate it, query, get the data. So essentially, I need to have to wait every time to request a new piece of the information. There is a delay between I get this data, right? And also, I constantly need to make a new lookup to get a little bit more data, right? So it's actually like pretty slow, and that's why so far the network was mostly used for like battle testing and like ramping up the query numbers, but like the most of the production use cases are still on our centralized setup. This is about to change with the portal release due to the first week of December. Basically, it's a quantum leap on the usability of the network, right? So if before kind of all the speed improvements and all the power of the decentralized network was hampered by this like very heavy lookups, because like it takes a lot of time to find the right peer in this like global network. Right now, with the portal, that gets basically instantaneous, because a lot of optimization and a lot of intelligent way of fetching this data from the network. So it's really more of a improvement on the client side, right? Basically, making like going from um, like a Nokia phone to iPhone, so to speak, right? So from like simple calls to like streaming. Like little bit technical details on here is like how we actually achieve that. Well, the portal now comes with a special buffer, and whenever you want to extract some information, instead of like having independent queries, you receive a whole stream of data, and basically the speed of data retrieval is only limited by the speed at which you can consume, because it's really like an avalanche of data. And how do we get this avalanche? Well, actually, instead of like going for workers one by one, the portal simultaneously like floods the network with many requests to multiple workers to multiple ranges. Well, it also is kind of optimized so that we do not overwhelm the network and make sure that we stay within the limits of the compute units that you get uh, from looking SQD, but at the same time, essentially we get as much data as the client can consume and put it into the buffer, so that we always have a little bit of data in advance, right? So it's similar to how you, for example, watch your YouTube videos. Like whenever you start and press the button play, your browser prefetches like the next, I would say, 3 minutes of the video, right? And as you start playing, it keeps downloading a little bit, so that even, for example, you lose the internet connection, you still have like a few minutes of the playback. And if you're on a good internet connection, it actually can download the whole video in the background, so you can always like watch the whole video no matter how much like download and upload spikes you have, right? So even, for example, you're watching on a mobile phone and you enter a tunnel where there is no bandwidth, no connection, your stream is not interrupted, right? Because it's like already partially on your phone, so you just like keep going. The same principle applies here. So we basically utilize as much throughput as possible and bufferize this, and at the end of the day, you as a consumer get an interrupted and limited stream of data, very much optimized for this decentralized environment where different workers may have different latencies. Yeah, so this is pretty much the whole innovation um, for this particular release. This is just the beginning, so the major updates are coming in January, which basically would allow also a plug-in for real-time data. We will speak, I believe, more about this with like a separate stream. And in general, the vision is that we, like as I said, gateway to portal is like a Nokia phone to iPhone, and it's not like just a figure of speech. It's also this vision of portal becoming more like a platform, and like the whole vision is that any application, any kind of data pipeline will require a self-sovereign portal hosted somewhere, right? So, for example, each protocol team, each dApp developer will be able to self-host a portal and basically feed all their users, all their users' data from there. So it's more like bringing back the ownership and sovereign access to the developers and to the users in the Web3 space. But yeah, this is basically the first step towards this fully independent access to the data in Web3. All right, so that was the technical part to cover the portal thing. There is definitely a lot more to cover, a lot more details, and yeah, I guess we will also have technical blog posts and like more non-tech friendly exercises. But hope that glimpse was helpful.
Yeah, I think it was a good refresher for everybody who maybe missed the previous one or is just so busy on pump.fun or other places that they need to catch up. I mean, yeah, now actually the quantum leap, it's funny because the same word was used by Justin Drake when he introduced Ethereum, so 3.0. So it seems to be the time for quantum leaps. But maybe one thing that, uh, well, people will always ask, like, let's say I'm like a trader, I don't know, I'm just a casual observer. I use some DAOs, but I'm not a developer. Like, why should I care about portals?
As a trader, as a developer, so yeah, definitely Portal is mostly a tool that speaks to the developer and the app builder communities, right? So it's primarily the way to get this data out from the network, and as a user, you don't really see that, but uh, you're probably going to use it under the hood, right? So this is the same way that, for example, having a new YouTube video player, right? So it may be even like not that a big of update for the user perspective, but you just like feel that the video is streamed better, the quality is better, right? So suddenly you have like from like the quality from 480 to full HD, right? And you just like see, okay, well, it is fast, right? So that's better. So I guess the users will just enjoy like better apps and better UI and better UX, right? Uh, Primarily, this is just the ground infrastructure that's going to power that.
Okay, I think that's the fate of all of the back end things in crypto. They're not always so obvious to the end user, but we're trying our best to make it more visible. And we got a few questions as well, so yeah, maybe we can go into it because it's always important. Like, how does SQD achieve the fastest speed? And maybe also, like, how does portals compare to using RPCs?
Yeah, so basically, RPCs is like Telegraph, and portals is like video streaming, right? So it's basically uh, a lot more efficient way to get the data, and by design, RPCs use a different way to store the data, to work with data, and are not really designed to extract any kind of information at scale. So that's why we like built this SQD network ground up using this technology from the web to space, and we, for example, can give you an aggregated data from multiple blocks that match specifically the data that you need for your app. For example, you have like a wallet, right? And you want to fetch your historical transactions, like your I don't know, trading ship coins, and you want to have your history in your mobile wallet, right? So if you want to get this information from the RPC endpoint, that's actually like a pretty daunting task, and not really something, not something that you can do, and especially if it's a public infrastructure, and yeah, either you run your own node or you're like rely on Infura or like some other paid plans, right? With SQD network and the portal, you basically get the power and the knowledge across all the networks, including EVMs and Solana. And at the same time, you don't really need to run any heavy infrastructure to get in there, right? So it's basically like tapping into the world, and at the same time, you don't have to piggyback to some centralized provider, right? So you basically can own this full stack. And that means that you can fetch your, for example, transaction history in like a fully private and sovereign way. That's just like one of the examples. And yeah, this all achieved through like designing a solution ground up specifically for extracting the data at scale, fast, and in a sovereign way.
Okay, moving on. Yeah, maybe we can talk a little about what's possible that hasn't been possible before, like use cases, applications, data maybe you can get that you couldn't.
Yeah, well, by and large, I would say that, again, this is not really like an end game right now. It's more like a stepping stone that opens up new opportunities, and like gets us closer like to the whole vision of getting any data you want at like any place without committing to any centralized provider. Specifically for like Portal, the idea is that that's the first time that you can get this uninterrupted, unlimited stream of data that is maxed out only by your ability to consume this data, right? So right now, I don't think there is any solution on the market which is decentralized, which allows you to set your rate limit on your own, which doesn't require you to commit to any kind of payment plan or like attach a credit card. At the same time, gives you so much power when it comes to data, right? So there are things like Dune and Nansen with like thousands of dollars per month as a like enterprise plan. There is always this kind of very strict rate limits on like how much data you can get, simply because bandwidth is actually expensive. Like when you, for example, use AWS or like any centralized cloud provider, and or like you have an option, for example, to use a Solana node and Geyser, right? Like which is like very hard to set up, very hard to maintain, and this is not something like a normal user, like a normal developer can do, right? And at the same time, with the portal, you get essentially like unlimited streaming at your own hands without like doing any like trickery or any expensive plan commitments. It's, yeah, you can think of it like as a Spotify moment for developers, right? So you basically like have a simple app, like simple setup, and like the very instant you get access like to everything out there. I think this is like pretty fascinating, and at the same time, yeah, it's just like the first building block towards many applications.
Since you already mentioned the end game, what is the end game?
Well, the end game is really like a different kind of pockets where you have direct data delivered specifically to the users, right? Like one example would be, for example, like fully sovereign applications which don't even have any kind of server backend. So there is like this data lake, there is a processor, and what like David likes to call co-processor essentially. So you basically got the information streamed to you, only the one that is relevant. You do all this kind of aggregations, uh, augmentations like AI, inference. Everything is done on your device or in a local database. You do it like with like private data, for example, and then you possibly send transactions on chain. So it's basically a complete elimination of the middleware in between, right? So it's just like your device and the data, nothing in between. Um, there is a lot of things that has to like happen in order for this vision to materialize. First of all, this proliferation of like user-based software. Uh, we have a lot of progress here, like in the Web2 space, like with SQLite, also with like this mini models on AI and like AI agents that can be run directly on your software. Uh, we are probably a few years behind having like a full AI agents run on your smartphone. But for example, there are projects like Exolabs where you can run like a full autonomous LLM on your like on your laptop, or maybe multiple laptops. So probably like in a few years, it's gonna be the phone's gonna be like 10x more powerful, and the mission like model is gonna be like 10x smaller, so it will fit there. So that's why I think it's completely possible to get to the point where we basically have complete separation between the compute, which is going to be fully kind of autonomous, fully user-based, and the data, which is just like going to be sitting there like as an ocean, and you have like a very efficient and a sovereign way to get this data to whatever you need.
Okay, so then we just need a phone that is also fully self-sovereign, right?
Yeah.
And a telco network that is also not operated by one one big entity. Yeah, I think that's going to be exciting. We're still work in progress. But yeah, since you brought up co-processors, and yeah, I see David is also hanging in the chat. Maybe we can talk about that a little. Like, what does it even mean? This code processing. Everybody is talking about it, obviously, and how does it work in SQD?
So like the philosophy behind this co-processing is that the blockchain indeed is more like an attestation layer, which means that you have transactions and the consensus over it, and basically this tells you that this is the canonical source of truth. And then there are multiple ways to interpret this data, right? So for like one of the kind of popular ways to do scaling right now is like have this rollups, which may have different security properties. Like, but once they build a block and post it to Ethereum, that kind of becomes ossified and becomes completely tamper-proof and unmodifiable for the future. And then you have a lot more information that you can pack, right? But like in order to unwin this, you need to have some computation done over it, right? So the idea behind this coprocessor is that you have this information on chain, but then you augment this with different kind of computations and like different actions that are not happening directly on chain. So for example, you have simply an agent that I don't know, like orders food to you, like whenever you see like transactions to a specific address, right? So uh, what it has to do is like to monitor on-chain transactions and do something in real life whenever there is a transactions made, right? Or it, for example, uh, like tracks some trades, or it tracks some interactions with a DeFi app, and then like does any kind of actions that are not directly related to blockchain space. Or like once the block space becomes so unlimited, or like different things happens on different chains, it can like pull them together, aggregate, and produce another transactions. So it's more like about being able to connect the real world and off-chain world with whatever happens on chain, while making on chain think more succinct and more focused towards like securing it and like making it tamper proof.
Okay, so you can basically build like a social listening for on-chain data. Like let's say it's kind of like what interface is doing, right? Like let's say I want to stalk what you're doing on chain, I could use that to do that and get
Yeah,
notified
for example, yeah,
whenever you mint an NFT on Zora, I can get a notification and see
yeah, for
what you got.
example.
Okay. Not sure that's going to be the most big use case, but I think social listening, at least for Web2 social, is pretty big. So you never know. Maybe for
If
Web3,
Nancy
that's.
Pelosi goes for degen trading, I guess that would feel like a pretty good thing to track, similar
Yeah,
to other applications right now to track your
true.
shares activity.
And of course, at the moment, these apps, I think if you take interface, for example, they are limited to, I think, 5 different chains they're tracking, or maybe 6. But yeah, if you want to go real degen, you'll probably go to Solana, and then um, there isn't such a thing. So anybody listening to this, if you want to build like a copy trading tool on Solana, be our guest. Um, but yeah, I think another question is also, of course, people always bring up the token. And I don't think we can give any recommendations on people to buy and sell. We also don't really want to comment on price, but maybe we can talk a little about how it's used in SQD and how it's going to be used once portals release. And yeah, how we eventually think this is going to drive the demand for the token.
Yeah, so it is important to understand that there are like multiple phases in any kind of a marketplace, and the first thing is always to fill the demand of the users, right? So in order to bootstrap any marketplace, you first need to ensure that uh, first of all, there is a demand for the services that you offer, and second, that the quality of service is sufficient, right? So if we, for example, remember how Uber did this, so they actually paid the drivers to stay online, even if there are no orders for taxis, right? So and then they subsidized and made the prices very low. A lot of discounts, essentially free rides, so that people were used to very cheap rides, and that you always can find a cab. That's pretty much the strategy that we are employing at the start, right? So um, we require SQD to be locked in order to get the data, and that's pretty much it. At the same time, the workers get rewarded for constant service that they provide for the network. And that means that coupled with this innovations like Portal, the quality of service is going to be just unbeatable, because it will be orders of magnitude cheaper compared to centralized providers, and it will be faster, and it will be better. So it's just like becomes so good that it's a no-brainer. And at that point, we basically like start hitting our target numbers on the usage, and only then we start introducing this like revenue streams and loop them back into the network. And at that point, we are going to significantly start to significantly reduce the subsidies for the workers. Actually, right now they're not that big, but it will be gradually shrinked and replaced with like a mix of SQD and a token that is more much less volatile. So at the end of the day, right now people are basically rewarded for looking into the future, similar to how Bitcoin miners were rewarded by being early to the network. And then like each 4 years the amount of Bitcoin rewards is halved, right? So similar strategies here. So right now it's actually like a pretty big opportunity. So as long as you believe in the product, to get and stack as much SQD as you can, because later the rewards are going, like in SQD, is going to be smaller and smaller, but instead you get like a more predictable but like less upside in the rewards. And at the same time, we start like getting revenues from the consumers once we have saturated the demand side, right? And that will make SQD deflationary in the long term. So it is pretty clear that as long as you see the demand, and we have like all the signs that the demand is here simply by looking at our like centralized setup where we have like millions of queries, then basically this flywheel starts to work, right? And we're this tokenomics 2.0, something that happens after the bootstrap period, will be published soon. So it's like a pretty exciting project. So basically bringing a lot more predictability for both the consumers, the workers, and bringing this long-term value to SQD holders as well.
Okay, so if portals, for now, people will just have to lock up some SQD, right?
Yeah, right.
So basically, when the price goes lowest, you get a discount.
Yeah, so right now I think it's like a pretty good opportunity for like long-term, I would say, believers to lock that in. Definitely there are some fluctuations in the price, and I would say that it is kind of knee-jerk reaction to make the correlation between the price and the technology and the quality of the product. I can totally understand some of this, some of the community members who are like really upset. Unfortunately, the price action is not really related to the quality of the product. It's really related on the like how many people are selling and how many people are buying, and that right now is completely like affected by the amounts of, I would say, greed, luck, and the dynamics, like what people actually expect, right? So I would say that within like this like years, the price is mostly speculative, but at the same time we accelerate towards like bringing more like revenue streams there and basically gauging the expectations. And in particular, this phase where people start locking SQD should spike the demand drastically, right?
Okay, I think the revenue streams thing is something that is new for some people. Maybe you can explain it a little, like where does the revenue come from? It's not like the yield, right? That is always coming from the next person.
Yeah, yeah. Here, the revenues will come directly from the users who actually pay for accessing the data, for pay for retrieving this data, right?
Okay, so it's actually pretty straightforward process. Eventually, you will have to pay for the data. Do you foresee that being significantly lower cost than alternative ways to it?
Yeah, so then the economies of scale kick in. And yeah, we can already say that even like with the current prices, if you compare it to the centralized providers, we would be able to charge even like $1 per 100 queries, and that is already like a lot cheaper compared to say BigQuery and Google. And basically, we can do a lot cheaper, and there is like a lot margin with the we can play with. So there is like a lot of room to play and a lot of room to gauge the pricing here.
Okay, great. So yeah, I hope that explained the revenue streams a bit better. I think we'll probably put something out once those things happen anyway.
Yeah,
And
I'm pretty sure that we should make like a dedicated session once like tokenomics
yeah,
2.0 are out. I believe it will be like before the end of the year. So the new white paper. So yeah, it would be like a great info to
yeah,
share.
in your white paper. That's I don't know. Somebody was saying nobody reads white papers anymore, but that's why we can read it to you, and we can.
Yeah, probably one pager, right? So
It's like a new audio book powered by SQD. It's just us reading the white paper. But no, I think it'd be good to have a tokenomics session. I think it's a topic that's often underrated. People usually just put like the pie chart of how many people got how much of the initial allocation, but I think it's much more than that. So I think if we can,
yeah, I never understood that. And like people requiring tokenomics are really like looking for this pie chart, but like to me,
yeah,
tokenomics is something like related to economics, right? Which is basically like
yeah.
supply, demand, and so on. And yeah, but that's not something that anyone is doing seriously, I guess. Maybe Gauntlet, but I don't know.
Uh, yeah, actually, I know somebody who's a head of tokenomics, so maybe we can invite him and then let him judge us live. That could be funny. Um,
Absolutely,
but
that would
yeah,
yeah.
I think definitely people always look only to the supply side, which I find also very fascinating. Um, but yeah, I think so. We're coming up to the last questions. But yeah, if anybody in the meantime still has questions, feel free to put them in the chat on YouTube, on X, also on Telegram. I have a look. But yeah, what are the biggest upcoming milestones for us?
Yeah, so obviously the first release of the portal. This will be like a I would say a dev focused release first, and like we will invite for beta testing several cloud users, and for the it's mostly like improving their synchronization speed and like getting everything on the decentralized rails. A much more important thing is going to happen in January, which is this hot stream and like real-time data plug-in for the portal. This is finally the time where we can throw away the RPC endpoint for squids for the indexers, because we had enormous amount of complaints and errors when we unfortunately cannot do much, because right now a lot of things depends on the RPC provider to get the fresh data. Basically, the last like 100 blocks are currently streamed directly from the node, and it's just another confirmation that the node is really a shitty data source, because it breaks. You cannot really control the quality. It's very much a dependency that is very hard to eliminate so far and very hard to predict. With the portal, we basically replace this, which with a like powerful setup that caches everything, and you basically have an uninterrupted stream of data up to the unfinalized blocks. So it takes care about like reworks. It takes care about the validity of the data. You would never expect any downtime, or for example that the RPC node is overloaded, or that you can't do like tracing or something. You just like get this clean data, and it can scale to thousands of consumers, right? So that means that at the user side, the indexer will be just like as smooth as flawless as it is right now for the part that comes from the network. So it's basically like a full decentralized indexing, and the pieces where the latency matters, you can basically get as fast as it gets, right? So you can even collocate it next to your node if you, for example, do some trading applications, and get like sub-millisecond latencies from there. I find it like really, really fascinating. And it's a lot of work. We've been working on it like for months, because it's a completely different storage. It's a completely different way to query the data. It's just insane, the amount of engineering effort that has been put by the team. Another milestone is to get to on-chain verification and slashing. So basically right now our key use cases are off-chain, and there is economic guarantees only for the data. And with introducing the verification on-chain, we open up a lot of use cases where you actually need to prove the validity of the queries. And basically we're gonna harden the guarantees on the queries. So this actually opens up the surface of the applications tremendously, and like puts us in line with like as one of the best data providers for smart contracts as well. And finally, I'm personally very excited about opening up the data provider interface, so that not just like us, who currently like make sure that the data we serve is sound and valid, but anyone can contribute to the data, to the network, and for example come up with a data set that can be queried, that can be extracted. And I would say that I anticipate like to have a very massive social impact. So we basically have a lot more data to be queryable directly from the SQD network, not just like on-chain data, for example. There is like a lot of things to be done there, and the first, I would say, milestones are definitely going to happen in 2025, like the first half of the year. This is like three key things that I'm looking forward to in the nearest future, and yeah, absolutely base stuff, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's also worth saying that we are like, I don't know, 85% engineer team, and then there's 3 people or 4 who aren't. So yeah, that's I think the right ratio. But yeah, so for the hot blocks, like how does it get these real-time data? Are we running our own nodes, or how does that work?
So for the hot blocks, for like a full self-sovereign setup, yeah, you can just basically plug in a node directly to the portal. Uh, there are some technicalities here, so basically it's more like a separate service which provides the hot block specifically to the portal. So it's not like the node directly, but through a specific, I would say, plug that aggregates them and like make sure that they're uninterrupted. And so basically you can make this plug yourself out of a node, or you can basically use our own service that we can operate, and it's like an RPC node but on steroids, right? And we are not going to run the nodes ourselves, but rather like have a backend across multiple providers and do all the hard work for you. So basically we can like have a stack of multiple RPC providers, and we only need to read this information once. So it going to be like relatively cheap, and then we can share it across as many consumers as possible. So we expect it like to be either completely free or like extremely cheap. So basically, it's again like kind of a nod towards RPC providers, saying that you guys are like doing things of the past, essentially, right? Because the data should be done in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, they can focus on like doing the commit actions and executing transactions and
Yeah,
doing
exactly.
that stuff.
That's their job, like MEV, like making sure that the transactions are landed, and yeah, basically on the right side.
Yeah, and maybe for the social, no, not social, for the data set. So you did mention then people will be open to submit their own data sets. So that obviously includes like off-chain data, right?
Yeah. So there are a lot of things to settle out, and we probably have some specific restrictions on the format of the data and like what kind of the data you can contribute at first. And in the future, that gonna be like extended, and the end goal is to be able to accept any kind of formats and any kind of data to be used.
Okay, but obviously it's not like a Google Drive, so people shouldn't just use it as a storage option. But there is like when you have an actual useful data set, I reckon. Like, for example, I think maybe you could add like lens data because not everything is on chain on lens or
Yeah, absolutely.
startup
So
data or Blue Sky. I think Blue Sky is at the moment even more popular than Twitter. So
yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, it's mostly about the data that is somewhat similar to how the blockchain organized. So basically, it's more like it's an immutable stream of things, right? So more like a time series event. So, for example, for social, that could be like pretty good thing where you just have like a stream of posts that are ordered by the timeline, for example. And yeah, that would be like a completely valid case for the data that and it fits pretty nicely to what we already have an SQD network from the tech point of view.
yeah, and there's also a bunch of people who tend to complain about like the algos of these decentralized social networks of the main client, and people who want the reverse chronological feed. So I think this would be like a perfect thing to build. Unfortunately, we can't do it for Twitter or yeah, because of the
Yeah,
API limits.
co-processing
But
co-processing the blue sky data, right? So,
yeah, that could be the future. Maybe that's what we're. The sky's the limit. That's what we'll focus on. But yeah, I think that those were all the questions that were in the chat. Yeah, so I think we can wrap it up here. But thanks everybody for listening. And yeah, anything you want to tell people, any call to actions or any.
So yeah, the very first call to action is join our SQD official Telegram chat. We opened it up for discussion just recently. Uh, for all the community members, yeah, please go there. I constantly read all the information. Yeah, feel free to spill your anger about the price, about everything. Uh, I would say that everyone is heard, and yeah, that's like a pretty good place to get your voice heard and like get direct access to all the team members.
Yes, definitely join the Telegram group. We are slowly phasing out Discord. It's not very Web3. And if you have any recommendations for Web3 native platforms that people actually use, we are also very happy to try them out. And you never need. Ideally, we would be fully self-sovereign. So
Yeah.
it's a process. We will get there eventually, but until then, we will see you on Telegram. And yeah, if you still have any questions, you can always just put them on our below our tweets or in the Telegram group. And yeah, that's
Um,
all. We will
Yeah,
put some
I would say that
inserts.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, I would say that there are also going to be like a lot of community-driven activities in November and December that are going to be aligned with the releases and with like many things that are prepared. So yeah, please check it out. And it's not just like we are only caring about devs. I promise there will be something that is squid.fun. Uh, really looking forward to see it live, and hopefully, yeah, we can make it work till the end of the year.
Yeah, so everybody's Squid.fun is coming, and also as somebody who has like zero engineering background, even I managed to deploy a Squid today. But that was mostly because of Claude and me giving it all of the documentation. But it's possible. So
That's the
for
way. I
the
mean,
for the people
absolutely.
who have time and motivation and can pay $20 a month to not open AI, then you're good to go. Or you can just ask me directly and I'll help you through. So yeah, that's all from us. Thanks everybody for listening, and we will also share a little write up with all of the insights from this later on. And yeah, have a good rest of the week, and see you for the next one. Bye bye.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Naomi, for having me.
Well, you're my boss, so technically that's fine. All right. Bye, everybody.
Cheers.